On Tyre Nichols, the negotiations that happened last year in the Senate obviously paused. Does the president want to see those resume on the George Floyd policing act?
Well, I think as you saw in his statement, the president was very clear. We need to deliver a change. We must have accountability when law enforcement officers violate their oaths. And we need to build a long-lasting trust between law enforcement and the vast majority of who wear the badge of honor in an honorary way, an honorable way, I should say, and the communities that they are sworn to protect and to serve. And so he believes we need to continue to move towards that type of change. And he's going to continue to call on Congress to come together and to deal with a real issue. I mean, again, we are having the same conversation, talking about the same thing, brutality, a death of a young man, that we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be reliving this type of hurt and pain and having to reach out to the families and a community and saying that we're with them in this time. This should not be where we are today.
But specifically those Senate talks that were happening between Cory Booker and Tim Scott and others, is that something that needs to be restarted at this point?
I mean, I'll say this. We think Congress should act and take action and put legislation to the floor that deals with this in a real way. And that is going to be up to Congress on what that looks like and what that ultimately materializes to be. But again, the president's going to call on them, and he's committed to really being part of the crucial work to advance meaningful reform.
And is there any specific provision in that bill or in any other bill that would prevent the kind of death that we saw here?
Look, I mean, if you look at the George Floyd Policing Act, which is something that the president supported last year, there were some real important components, provisions in that act that we thought would start the process of bringing forward meaningful change, as the president is going to continue to call for. But again, we're going to work with Congress. We're going to continue to call on Congress to really move something forward that's going to deal with an issue that has been disproportionately really affecting the brown and black community.
Thanks, Karine. The legislative issues aside, I think the president spoke publicly about what seemed to be a genuine bond he had formed with George Floyd's family. And I was wondering if you could talk about, just from a personal side of things for him, how much that has informed or maybe had an impact on how he processes or sees things like what it appears we're about to see down in Memphis.
Yeah, and you know this, Phil. I think you've covered the president, or certainly watched the president the last couple of years, especially during that time as his relationship with the George Floyd family developed. And they've met many times and they've spoken many times. And I cannot imagine how conversations like that don't have an effect on someone, right? When you see a family going through so much pain, and that pain being captured on video for all the world to see. So, yeah, I think it's had an impact on all of us here. It's had an impact on many across the country, across the globe. And, yeah, I think he takes this very seriously. He sees what is going on. He hears the stories. He talks to the families. And he feels that it's important. It's important to make sure that these families that go through this get swift and full and transparent answers and investigation to the death of their loved ones. Don't want to get too far into it because, as you know, the DOJ is looking into this, as also as the local authorities, and there's going to be a trial. So don't want to get too far into this particular case. But as you asked me about the George Floyd family, yeah, I think it affected all of us. Meeting them and listening to their story and what they've had, the pain that they are still going through.
And he got at this a little bit in the statement, but in terms of his call for protests, nonviolence, is he confident that it feels like that's where things are going at this moment in time, and how will he ensure that that message continues, I guess, to be durable over the course of the next couple of days?
Yeah, look, he called for peaceful protest. He joined the family. I think people should listen to the family as they call for peaceful protest as well. And I think that's really important. And we understand the outrage people have currently and how hurt and painful this is. But we're going to continue to say violence is unacceptable. And so, I just laid out a moment ago of what we are trying to do here. The president has met with the agencies. His administration has been very much in touch with local and state officials to do everything that we can to prevent that. But again, the president has always been very clear when it comes to violence not being the answer, and making sure that when people protest, it's peaceful.